Welcome back to another episode of What About Dad? My name's Adair, and with the help of my friend Jen, we'll be going over Wynonna Earp's season finale, I Hope You Dance. So sit back, relax, and ask yourself, hey, what about Dad? Alright, so the season finale, Wynonna Earp. I am so stoked about it. This podcast feels like it took forever to get to you guys. I'm so sorry about that. Life. But we're here. We're excited. Let's get into this awesome season finale and give the people what they want. So, Jen, how did you feel about that opening?
I was really excited about it. I love the way it starts. Every episode this season has really started with a lot of action. And we were given some intense Waverly action. She comes back to life after being blown up. And her first instinct is to take a shotgun and to go and confront her enemies, Bobo and the Widows.
It's true. It really is. I thought that was really awesome. One of my favorite things about this is that she kind of came out the woodworks, confronted Bobo about the parentage, and that was kind of our first glimpse of her trying to take it, by the balls, if you will, and figure out her life. I love the fact that Bobo's teaming up with the Widows. What do you think about it?
I thought that it's interesting with his choices to team up with the Widows. It's a betrayal to Waverly. It's something he's always promised, which is he wasn't going to hurt her. Maybe everyone else in her spectrum, but not her. But it does imply that he is willing to hurt her. And I think that it's one met with a barrel of a shotgun. And then the next thing we see, oh my gosh, the relief. We see Wynonna show up. Because her first instinct is to go, upon returning to life, is to go find Waverly and save her. Thank God.
Oh yeah, no, it was absolutely great. And I love seeing a little bit more information that now that the seal is broken, the Widows can't be killed with just, Peacemaker like once off, with the regular Peacemaker bullets, if you will. I thought it was kind of interesting. And then we get swept into this, moment where Bobo's using his powers, which seems that Clutie gave him more powers this time around, flinging our heroines to the ground. And it's just this beautiful moment between Melanie and Dom, or, Wynonna and Waverly in the grass. And, it's that brief moment of forgiveness of what Waverly did, but also extreme relief to be together again.
And it's a top angle shot. What is that called? Do you know what that's called? The shot from the top where we have the girls on the floor.
What is that? Is
there a technical term?
I think there is, but it's like an overhead. That's, for the most part, what people call it.
It was a great choice of shots cinematically. I really felt that conviction. That kind of summed up for me what the season's been about.
Yeah, just really focusing on our two siblings. And then we get into this awesome kind of fun reunion with everybody. People looking like they just got blown, up and, looking a hot mess, and, dolls coming out of the body bag, and, Nicole still in her hospital gown. It's like, come on, guys.
And yeah, the team assembles and Doc wakes up. Dolls wakes up, and he immediately has regret for what he did in the alternate world. And we learn that there is a repercussion, there is a consequence for the last episode. All the choices made in the alternate reality kind of carry over to this reality, and you could see it in Doll's eyes, his regret, because that relationship between him and Doc has always been so complicated because there's a lady between it.
It's true. And I thought it was kind of interesting of how everybody's remembering things. Dolls remembers the AU kind of ending. We find out Doc is very aware of where he went, and he remembers that. Nicole, Jeremy, they don't really remember. Everything's foggy. Seems that Wynonna just kind of was like, and I'm not here, and now I'm here again, So it's kind of interesting finding out kind of where they all were or what they thought. What I thought was also great was that they also had this moment of hilarity between Wynonna and the group with the vagina jokes and things like that, reminding us what show we're watching.
Vagina was really a theme of this episode. If you want to go in there's a lot of themes, but vagina was its own paramount.
I mean, we have the big baby coming out of one of them, so, that's pretty
One
much
of the ones Mercedes had was like, she's like, we're going to get your baby and it's going to be freshly baked. I was like, oh, yeah. It was Beth.
Yeah, Beth.
Freshly baked baby.
Also, like, Mercedes' widow saying, it's my destiny, and, vagina joke ensuing of saying, is that what you call your beef? Because I'm not interested.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff cracks me up. I'm like, and this is why we watch the show, for the quality content. And
the way Wynonna keeps cornering Jeremy with the vagina jokes. Vagina threats.
Oh, which is vagina threats, if you will, which I think is great. And that brings us kind of into this, this levity and this moment of being reunited. Now, in being reunited, they find out that the plate and the peacemaker are the same metal. They kind of find out that there is a plan that they got to get together. I really love the team speech of no more dying, get over your shit, no more feeling guilty, no more feeling sorry, let's just kill this thing and get it, going. And I love that. I love that, leadership finally. And then we get into this disorganized, supposedly fake leadership with the trio of Bobo and the widows uncovering Clootie / Balshar, I think it was hilarious.
I really didn't get a sense from their organizational skills that they were going to be successful in their endeavors, just because the two sister wives, kept contradicting each other. And you know what? In this moment, we finally find out what Mercedes wants. She does not want to be a sister wife. She does not want to be pinned to a life of long skirts and high button-up collars. She wants her lady freedom and pants. And so she betrays Beth in the moment.
I think it's great. I feel like it was so, I'm not shocked, when she gets into her Khaleesi Mother of Dragons outfit.
What
and
was that?
I think it's, who
Whose
knows?
choices were those?
It showed boobs. That was really what was happening.
I was shocked by that. After seeing her be so fugly, they're like, let's give her something more.
And you're like, that was your choice? Okay.
Titties squeezed together.
Hey, I mean, sometimes we just have to go there. But what I love is that the widows, I don't know if it's a trait of those creatures, but it feels like they took the kind of personalities of the people's faces they snatched. Beth, before, when she was alive, she was very meek and, helping the misogynistic man and wanted to empower that kind of person. That's why she was supporting Tucker, and Mercedes is like, ain't nobody got time for this shit. I'm gonna follow Wynonna's lead and be better than that. And it's funny because that's exactly what Mercedes' widow did. She goes, Wynonna is 10 times better the gunslinger than Wyatt is, and she's powerful, and 24th century, I want pants, pretty much, And I thought that was really interesting that she was very much acting like Mercedes, even though she was evil, So it didn't even turn into being a creature. It just felt like an evil version of Mercedes, which I thought was really cool.
I actually feel like that is exactly what I wished. If I could change one thing about this finale, and we've talked about this 3 times, so I'm going to give you something new. If I could change one thing about this finale, I would have had Wynonna recruit Mercedes into super team, be like, all right, let's make a deal. Let's kill this Clootie. We'll talk about you staying out of hell, or whatever. I would have had Wynonna treat with her a little bit more, just because this woman who's played Mercedes has been so fun to watch for 13 weeks as this excellent bad guy, this catty friend, and this bitchy town rich bitch,
Yeah.
Rich bitch. I feel like that's what Wynonna would say.
Take a shot every time Jen says bitch. Hey.
Only 3 times so far in this podcast.
Drink tequila, you'll be fine. Yeah, so we kind of get that moment, and then once again, it's kind of sandwiched back in the positive sister empowerment, where we have them kind of confronting the Iron Witch, going, "Hey, bitch, I see you try to kill me. You tried it. Didn't work." And the witch is like, "My bad. I thought y'all killed my sister. Whoops." And so it's just kind of like
confusion of a lifetime.
It really, my bad. Whoopsies. And she's like, "We're going to exploit you." She's like, "Feel free as long as you don't kill me." So I thought that was kind of a cool moment to have that surprise, motherfucker. It was one of those things, because she wasn't
I was
expecting them to
surprised
show
that
up.
the Iron Witch had such a prominent role in the last parts of the season. Like, she kind of, like, took whatever minutes were allotted to Nedley, and they were like, okay, we're gonna make you the magic problem solver in these last couple episodes. You know, she was in the finale, she was in some really big key episodes, and I was really surprised by that.
I think she might come back a little later, but that's for a prediction video. Anyways, let's talk about seeing Doc for the first time. We've gone 20 minutes into the show, pretty much, and they just then get to Doc, you know, standing on this well, looking absolutely catatonic, you know, and it was a beautifully done cinematic shot where it's just like him on the well, and then, you know, dolls kind of behind him coming up. I thought that was super pretty to see. But man, Tim Rezan, like, the tears in his eyes, the fear, just definitely he played it all on his face, and I thought that was great.
I like the scene itself. I like the question of mortality and how that's always been the main theme / conflict for the character of Doc. And I really enjoyed the fact that it was dolls who came to find him with this regret that he was carrying, that, sorry, I shot you, that's awkward, let's move on. Why not just move past this? Let's go. Let's team up, let's move, we gotta move. And so, I mean, it was a great slower movement. It did slow the pace down, and maybe that's what we did need because everything was happening so quickly. But it ultimately led us towards the two guys splitting up, you know, and Doc going to the aid of Wynonna and Dolls going to get the baby doctor from the hospital.
True. And, well, I mean, that's a little later, but at the same time, it was still important to have that beginning moment of support from Dolls. You know, it's like unlikely pairing. They're starting to have this bro TP. I think Dolls has learned so much from Wynonna about caring that he actually can look at Doc and go, dude, you know, sorry. I know I can kind of be here for you emotionally because I understand. You know, whether they get along or not is still debatable, but there's still that connection. Because I think Dolls, at the end of the day, kind of doesn't want to be in Doc's position. I don't think he would be able to fare as well as he thinks he would be, you know, and things like that.
See, I have an argument with you on that. I think Dolls wants to be the baby daddy of Wynonna's baby, though. I think Dolls would love that. Be a great daddy.
No, what I'm saying is that in his position of mortality and living 150 years and having to deal with all that, but like the reason why he does understand Doc and can emotionally support him is because he can put himself in that position of being there for Wynonna, being a father and stuff like that. So like his compassion and empathy in that moment was for this man who loves Wynonna because he can understand that. But I don't think Dolls necessarily would have understood where Doc is coming from, being 150, now losing your mortality and having that fear. That's why he has a conversation with him in a later scene. But I love that heavy, kind of emotionally filled scene. And then we get kind of this light throwaway moment, sort of. So with Nicole and Jeremy, this moment to me makes sense if you're watching the Purgatory Case Files on Twitter. If you have never looked at the Purgatory Case Files, what are you doing? They're awesome. But also, it won't make as much sense why it will seem like a throwaway scene that they paired Nicole and Jeremy up. In the Purgatory Case Files, they are working on an outside case that might come back season 3, which I hope it kind of does. But they seem to have gotten closer and things like that. So I thought that was really cool. But as far as the finale goes, it probably could have been a thrown, like it was a throwaway scene just to get them as bait and all this other stuff. So what do you think about it?
I like that Jeremy's finally feeling, you know, we're getting to know what's in his mind a little bit. I like that we get this really cool segue into, as soon as like they're about to say something awesomely emotional, there's like this huge Mercedes interruption as like Mercedes and her
I think it's just Nicole. Honestly, I think it's just Nicole. I think anytime Nicole's involved with something, someone's going to cock block or interrupt whatever she has going on. I think it's just kind of... She absolutely, like, you know, attracts interrupting cows. It's crazy. Which I think is hilarious. And then also going back to real quick with the Jeremy, just because I thought that was a really great line, kind of sums up the Earper fandom. He goes, I didn't fit here, but none of you asked me to. I could be myself. And I thought that was so sweet because that's kind of what this fandom feels like. You know, nobody asked us to be a part of it, but nobody asked us to change. You know, we have a no chill group. We have the Andres, fans, and nobody asked us to not be weirdos. And I think that is absolutely exceptional for a show to kind of acknowledge. And Jeremy kind of is us in the show. He speaks for all of us in that regard. So I thought that was very sweet. And then we get this instant, scene where it goes back to Doc and Dolls, which is another hilarious scene. I like how they pile up the comedy, because then we have Dolls going, why are you listening to Adele in your car? Which I think is precious. Into a sincere moment where Dolls tells Doc, hey man, don't worry about not dying or whatever, being human, because they say our children are our immortality, which I thought was a really kind words for Dolls to speak to Doc in that moment, because ultimately Dolls wishes he was Doc in that moment, so I think that was just a really special scene.
Yeah, and then the boys split off and they go to 2 different destinations, one to get the doctor and the other one Doc goes to meet with Wynonna, and so that's really where that happens.
I think that's hilarious because also this moment of they split apart, and the code name for the baby being delivered is like the pot of gold or something. Which
They
I think
really
is
had
great.
a lot of code names this season. It's been pretty hilarious.
It's all about Waverly. She was like picking out those
She
code names.
started it, and then they just kept going with it. More code names.
Which I think is absolutely great. I love the fact that he's going to, Dolls is like, all right, let's get this doctor. And they're really trying to be a team. And I think that is just the coolest thing.
2 daddies. That's what should happen.
I mean, look, I wasn't all necessarily for the polyamorous lifestyle, but I'm loving everybody so much. I'm like, let's just be sister wives, or brother husbands.
They could be Wynonna Earp's brother husbands. Oh my God.
Wynonna is the new Clutie. Predictions. We'll get to that in another video.
All right.
It's so ridiculous. Also, I love this kind of pre-birth grouping. This, pre-birth, everybody's like, we're talking about the bullet splitting. We got the death of the widows. And that's crazy. Okay, so like this bullet splitting is the first thing I ever noticed on this show where I was like, wow, this is like really cheesy sci-fi, but I also love it. Like I'm here for it.
They gave you the bullet as it was going in slow motion and the other bullet, and you could literally see the split action. I really didn't know what was happening until I saw both characters of Beth and Mercedes fall over. I had no idea.
And it was gross that they died in like a spider pile. I was like, ugh.
I just felt like I wish there had been more of an end for them. Like, they're just gone after causing so much shit over the season. It was very sudden for me. I was digesting and the show continued on without me.
What a waste of an outfit. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I also felt like the costume and change implied it was going to go to like this weird whole next apocalyptic level, but then they just continued to tease it, and then we never like had this crescendo of evil upon us. It just pretty much resolved itself quickly.
True.
And we're done with you two, and Tucker's dead, everyone's dead in this family. Let's move on with our lives.
It was kind of a bummer. Then we have this, like I was saying, the group pre-birth scene where everybody's in shorties. We've gotten Wynonna safely away from the widows, and she's just inside. And I thought this is kind of a great visual representation. Something that Emily does that I think is great are she has pictures, like just still moments where you go, I feel like this is representing this. Everybody was behind her while she's about to give birth, and they were just kind of being there supporting her. To the fact that she even goes, oh, great, everybody's here. Should we Skype in Nedley? And it was that, even though it was funny to me, it felt like a physical representation of Emily going, we have your back, Melanie. All of us. The Earpers, all your cast and crew, everybody is here for you in this moment. And I thought that was just a nice, quick scene that, I don't know, just made me feel very good,
You
and I
had
thought that was
her
fun.
back as well, Adair.
I
felt it
as
through
soon
the
as we all,
microphone.
it's true. As soon as we all saw Doc write, I'm all in, we all said, so are we, Doc, so are we, and I thought that was cute. And then we get into this, crazy ass scene with Dolls and the Brotherhood.
This Brotherhood, yeah. Dolls fiery brimstone becomes a lizard man and burns them all.
I would.
You know, it was their choice to walk into the middle of the street, and it was their choice to not move. But
it's true.
They basically made these choices that led to their demise. Their fiery.
You know the
demise.
choices, you know the consequences.
It could have gone a whole other direction, but it didn't. So once again, it was kind of a clearing of the plate in the way that the Widows was a clearing of the plate. Oh, here's an almost bad guy. Let's just clear him. But I do think we're going to see more of the Brotherhood next season.
I think we have to, because I have a feeling that, well, Ewan, or whatever the lead Brotherhood guy's name was.
Hot.
He tended to know a lot about Dawes' life. And I think that he didn't know he was a lizard man, because when he came out flaming and the voice changed, he was like, what the? Oh, crap. So I don't think he knew that, but he did know a lot about Dawes, which I find fascinating. I like the fact that Dawes will kill a group of people to save his family, you know? And he might not have done that normally, because even Ewan's like, oh, you're going against, you know, the orders and the protocol and everything like this. He doesn't kill innocents. And he was upset when they killed the doctor, which, boo, that doctor was awesome. Why kill her? She was totally badass.
And they killed her, like, off camera, which is just bullshit. I just feel like...
Yeah, it kind of made me mad, because, like, it was a character that you didn't need to kill.
It was a pedestrian character, too. So it's like everyone's a monster, but she wasn't.
Yeah, and you could, like, totally have, like, used her for, like, random things later. Like, oh my god, I got shot. Hey, where's that doctor? Like, she could have been the Rosario Dawson of Wynonna Earp.
We just need the regular faces of the everyday to return over and over to create the world more. Otherwise, you lose a sense of the world. It becomes too magical, too mystical.
Yeah, there's a lot of that happening, where we had said this before. We kind of miss Purgatory. We miss the people of Purgatory. Gus done moved away. Champ, who Lord knows where he's at.
Drinking somewhere else. That's where he's
exactly.
at.
Perry doesn't really live there. You know, we kind of saw Pussy Willows, but that's full of revenants. Like, where are all the normal people? We barely see Nedley. Like, I would love to see some actual people. That's all I ask. Well, he bought the helicopter because he's rich.
Well, where do you keep it in Purgatory? Like on top of the library?
No. He rented it. That's what I'm saying. He rented it. Oh. It wasn't that he owned one.
So there's a rent-a-helicopter spot in Purgatory?
Apparently.
Just throwing it out there. Spitting.
I don't think Perry lives in Purgatory. I think he...
But look at he
came to visit for the reunion.
Purgatory, and Perry doesn't even live there. Just saying.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I don't think he actually lives there. All right, moving on to Wynonna giving birth and Rosita's betrayal. You know, once again, we also hadn't seen Rosita really this whole time until this moment. You know, you gotta take her and leave her.
Can you just say that Rosita's betrayal was something that you as an audience member saw happening a mile away? Like, we've just seen week after week Wynonna be an asshole to Rosita.
A little bit, yeah.
You know, so like the betrayal didn't shock me. What did you think about that?
I thought it was great. You know, we have this absolutely beautiful moment between Wynonna and Waverly. You know, that intense conversation where pretty much after the visiting quest, Wynonna knew, or had an inkling, as she said, that Waverly might be Bobo's daughter. It was this kind of beautiful, I guess, moment of, I don't know, figuring out who they are as a pair, and Waverly supporting Wynonna. And then out of nowhere, you know, Rosita's like, oh, it's gonna be great. Oh, she says something where Wynonna apologizes to Rosita right before she's about to give birth. She goes, I'm sorry. And Rosita, we think it's a joke. She goes, oh, you'll be sorry once you start pushing. You know, but I think that was the first time Wynonna actually was apologizing. Like, she actually kind of realized what she had done to Rosita, and she was thanking her. Too bad she didn't realize the damage was done, you know?
Right, and Rosita is there, and she's pissed, and she's betraying Wynonna, but she in no way is betraying Wynonna's baby. In terms of, she's there to help Wynonna through this labor, through the birth, and she's even concerned for the baby's welfare and well-being. So it's like, you really see how this character is so redeemable, and you can understand why she made the choice she did, because it's, you know, betray this woman to go to hell, you know? It's practically a gun to her head already. She's had one to her head.
Well, that's what I'm saying. What we talked about was that Wynonna flat out told her, no matter what happens, I'm still going to kill you. No matter what you do for us, no matter how good you are, you're still going back to hell. You just might go last. That's not very comforting. And so I get it why she betrayed her. Also, Tamara Daugherty did an awesome job, because the look on her face, you can see she didn't really want to hurt them. You can see she was scared. She was like just kind of winging it, she's like, yeah, push, do that, and that moment where we see, Waverly and it's all a bummer, I love the fact that they also broke this scene up. I like the fact that we see Wynonna about to give birth, Rosita knocks her out, and right before Waverly wakes back up, we get this cut directly to Doc, Bobo, Jeremy showdown, which is another great transition between a trio having an argument and a trio having an argument. Emily's very good at breaking this up and kind of playing parallels. Jen, what do you have to say about that kind of...
I wanted to talk about Jeremy and Rosita and just the fact that they're the two new people this season, and they both come into this little family, and they both were received differently. Just that Jeremy was somebody who was received, and everything that he did, he gave to the group, and Rosita was somebody that they insisted upon. Like, they never really asked her, they just forced her to do stuff for the group. And then when she did it, they kind of rejected her. They're like, hey, I'm gonna shoot you, send you to hell. That's rejection. So it's like you have two members who have had two different experiences with these people, and if you'd shown Rosita more kindness, you wouldn't have had this betrayal to begin with. It's just these like little tiny micro choices that you can see where Wynonna, if she responds with kindness to Rosita won't betray her. If she works with Bobo, you don't have to end up with Bobo at the end of two spikes. So I still think that Wynonna is both the cause of the conflict and the resolver of the conflict in that regard. The people in her world, she needs to herself as a character kind of open up her spectrum to more, dealing with her conflict with more kindness.
Yeah, no, I get that. And then we get into this this trio of Bobo, Jeremy, and Doc. Doc kind of confronting him. Hey, you look different. He's like, hey, information that we got. He's given Bulsher, Clutie, a wife, which is Waverly, and that's crazy information. And Doc instantly is pissed. I love this scene because it gave us a crap ton of information about Jeremy. Him finally stepping up, shooting Bobo, kind of standing up for what he believes, was really great to see, because we hadn't seen that all season. But the information of, I'm 100% sure, and it's been kind of talked about with other people as well, that Jeremy is some type of special being or entity or whatever. We learned he was in a car accident. We learned that he was not recruited for his intelligence. He was recruited after that happened. Fun fact, we know that Dawes helped him with his family back in the day. That's why he knows Agent Dawes. So I bet that had something to do with it. He was very quick to just say, hey, look out into the distance. Hey, your baby's coming. You gotta go, to Doc. And I thought that was great. I loved the whole kind of knife in the hand for Doc. Like, I love that sequence. Michael Eklund, I think him just being Bobo is amazing.
Was that Doc's shooting hand?
Yeah.
So do you think...
Well, he shoots with both of his hands, but that's...
Do you think that's going to impede him next season, be a theme?
No. I think they're going to move that... Well, it depends. If it's important enough for a storyline, maybe. But if there's too much to resolve, which I think there already is, I don't think they're going to really address it. Because you can also get a knife in the middle of your hands and it not affect it as badly. It might heal. That looked like a clean break, so who knows? It might have been through and through, and then just a few scars later. Who knows nowadays? You know what I'm saying? But I think if it has something to do with season 3 plot, then it might affect him because he's getting old and aging.
No, I was thinking that same thought.
But if they don't have the time, they might not address it. Moving on to the birthing, Wynonna's birthing. We see Waverly pick up Peacemaker. She bounces back, a little bloody, but no worse for wear. She's holding this Peacemaker. Now, Waverly is not 27. She's 22, I do believe, in this season. She, isn't even an Earp, we've learned, as she's told Wynonna earlier. And I really appreciate the fact that it was just this beautiful connection scene between Mel and Dom. You are an Earp. You are just as much as this baby is. And, that was amazing to see that Wynonna willed this gun to work in Waverly's hands. Waverly was able to shoot Rosita, but also not. She kind of missed. I think she missed on purpose, personally. And to have Rosita look so hurt and so sad and say, good for you. She's still supporting Waverly, even when Waverly's pointing the thing that can send her to hell, at her. She's still, a part of her, and Waverly are going to have a huge thing, I think, next season.
It's just so hard to hate Rosita.
It really is. It really is.
I love them so much. I still ship it. I ship that and Dolls and Jeremy. I think they're cute too.
I will talk about in another video. We'll talk about kind of the Peacemaker lore, what we think is going on with the blue, and people welding it. We didn't want to bog this down right now, but we'll definitely talk about that later. But yeah, I thought that was just a super awesome scene.
Yeah, I felt like I wasn't really sure what would happen with the blue gun. It's slightly confusing when you watch it the first time.
Yeah, and we'll definitely get into it.
It does need some clearing up. Yeah.
Also, we have the baby born, precious baby. Whoever that baby is, it's adorable. I think Melanie deserves all the awards for this moment. As a pregnant woman, almost days before having her own child, she's holding this newborn, talking about how she needs to get rid of it, or talking about like giving it away, and how she doesn't want to. She didn't realize how much she wouldn't want to do this. And that was just absolutely heartbreaking and stunning as an actor. I don't understand where she went mentally to even get that done, or how she was able to bounce back. That's something I would love to hear from her. Like, how did you bounce back from that?
Well, how would you bounce back?
I've never had a baby. I've never been pregnant.
But you're an actress.
Yeah, no,
so
that's
what
I'm saying.
Prep for that?
It's different when you are. That's why I said I wish I can talk to her, because as an actor, yeah, I would try to find something that's close to, close to losing something that you really love or whatever. But you can fake it as an actor. Obviously, that's the job of an actor, is to fake it. But when you are a woman who is actually pregnant, you can be pregnant, and then when you are pregnant and you have to play a pregnant lady, you'll have a whole new respect. You'll have a different way of doing it than if you're an actor playing pregnant and you've never been. With this moment, we all as actors could be like, oh, my baby, I'm so sad, I'm giving it away. There's, a plethora of emotions you can grab from, but it's not going to be the same as actually being pregnant, actually feeling that life inside of you, holding an actual baby, and then saying, I have to give you away, because hormonally and emotionally, that's a lot. Like, that's past acting. Like, that's nothing you can be taught. That is not an acting thing. Like, that's why I'm like, it was so amazing to me that she did that. Because I do believe in an interview, she even said when she read it, she was like, oh, how am I going to do this? Because that's not an acting thing. That is something that you have to internalize.
I think that kind of says how she did the whole season. She really challenged herself the whole season.
Yeah, that's when okay, so for me as an actor, I think it's kind of messed up that people don't take it as seriously as they could, because there's a lot of things that actors do that are very brave and emotionally brave and psychologically brave, and putting yourself in the shoes of, people that are dangerous or overly loving. Maybe you're not a person who emotes very well, but your character does. So you have to learn how to find that inside yourself in order to bring it out onto the surface so the audience can see it. What she did, guys, in that scene, and this whole season, but what she did in that scene was any actor will say almost impossible. What she did was accomplish the impossible. That is a hard place. That scene, forget the whole episode, just that scene was hard. That is all the awards to Melanie.
Well, the next scene we have, I'm gonna bring some levity to the. Well, not really levity. Next scene we have is we have a way hot moment with Waverly crossing the line of purgatory, and it's a question we've had all season: what is Waverly? Can she cross this line? We've never seen her cross this line or leave town, for that matter. And she has the baby in her arms and Nicole with her. It's very wife and wife. It's kind of it's almost like a day in a life in another story.
I really liked, like I said, they do great picture imagery in the show, and we got it in the last episode, 211, where they have this kind of wedding imagery of Waverly in the white dress and, Nicole kind of giving vows of wherever you go, I go, very precious. In this episode, we have kind of a two moms situation imagery, and I thought that was kind of nifty.
I just was thinking that, that's not necessarily a written direction in a script. It's more of a director direction in a script. So I feel like if you're writing the script, you'd be like, hey, Waverly leaves Nicole to the edge of town. Nicole stops. Waverly passes the line. That's how you would kind of put that together. Then it would be the director who would be creating that image. That's where the job stops. And I think that's really very, very interesting.
Well, I mean, it also depends on who directs each. I didn't know who directed the last two, but that's the kind of idea of some directors write for certain people and they direct for certain ships and things like that. And to have that imagery so specific, the one thing that this show does do is specificity. They don't just shoot something just to shoot it. And so that's why it kind of frustrates us that they have so much stuff that they've put on film that we're like, okay, that's gonna mean something, because they've always kind of done that where if I show it, it's gonna come back, so right. Having those moments of imagery between them, really important. I love the cinematography showing Waverly crossing this line. I thought that was really kind of cool, just a really simple pan over and you see her cross the line, nothing special, it's just right for the effect. Now, Waverly had grabbed the gun, obviously I talked about that during the birthing scene against Rosita, and then it burns her. So we all know that the gun burns for revenants and things like that. So once again, we'll talk about that in the video of the kind of lore of this gun. But I just want everybody to keep a note that she has held Peacemaker before, and she's never burned. She has never shot it, I don't think, but she's held it. So something is activating in her. I have a feeling that Peacemaker is a lot more than we think, because they're going to have to try to resolve this kind of lore of the gun somehow, because it's starting to get a little sloppy.
No, I agree, yeah.
We'll talk about that a little later. Great scene.
Wynonna traps revenants, and she's still at the bar. She's hunched over. She's in a chair, having just given birth. Her lady bits are still open. She has Peacemaker in her hand. It's very modern Western. It's a beautiful image, and her best boy, her homeboy, Doll, shows up. He's the right man for the job in the moment. And then they are attacked, and we just get a hail of bullets, and we get to really see what Wynonna does best. We get to see why she's the heir and how far she's come in this journey.
Exactly, and I thought it was a to the point, great scene with them, kind of once again showing that Doc feels like the emotional partner to Wynonna, and Dolls is that absolute support and that beam in her life that keeps her kind of pushing forward. I love that dichotomy between the two men and how they affect Wynonna. I thought that was great. Then we get into Doc meeting his child. Now, this is where I talked about a little bit that Jeremy, has some kind of clairvoyance, possibly sends Doc to see his baby, and that moment was absolutely precious. Once again, cinematography, guys. Whew. Yes, we're in this long, empty field, and we see this helicopter descending. All the budget for this episode went to that helicopter, by the way. And
no green screen, just helicopter.
And I just love the look on Dom's face and Tim. Once again, they're acting against a baby in a plastic baby in a blanket. Absolutely beautiful. That just look of surprise and wonder. Great callback to season 1, where he calls, Wynonna, oh, back in my day, women were dainty and, in blue and all that kind of thing. And he says it there while he's holding his daughter, which I think was great. Another little thing just wanted to kind of let the audience know about a little history lesson. A lot of people reviewing and talking about this episode said that they were confused by the baby. They thought it was a boy because the baby was wrapped in blue. The thing is, before the 1920s, the color blue was more synonymous with females and not males. It was changed later, I don't know exactly why, after the 1920s, but it had changed in media to sell more things. In the animal kingdom, all the males tend to be the brightest of the colors. You have your, just pinks and all that stuff. And women were seen as, normally in the animal kingdom, females, blue, brown, very dull colors. It's all about the man trying to pontificate and show his colors to get mates. So just know that. The blue actually makes a lot of sense, especially for a Western, because in that time period, women would have been dainty in powdered blue and wearing a lot more dulled and muted colors. So I think that's something to just know about, and I think that's great.
Yeah, that is great. Thank you for that knowledgeable bit of history. I appreciate learning it. And then we have the reveal.
The more you know. Yeah.
We have the reveal that Doc, our boy Doc with the pistachio, was in hell when he died.
What a bummer.
And he has these burn marks on his wrist, which I hope makeup keeps up with all of next season. I'll be looking for his wrist. And actually, I went back and checked the episode to see if they ever popped through his costume. They didn't. Just throwing that out there. And he's been in hell, and we have him locking Bobo into the well. So it's like reverse well trap. Don't ever do that to me, Adair. Don't put me in a well.
I will not put you in a well, but a mental institution, can't promise much.
But what occurred to me was that after 100 plus years, these are two men who still have the most in common with each other in their world as of now, and they still cannot have a single fucking conversation.
We can't have nice things.
They just cannot talk it out. They just have to be throwing each other through metal spikes, and I just feel like it's all because of this weird jealousy that a dead dude who's over 100 years dead liked one more than the other.
Well, even Bobo said something fascinating of he kind of screwed us both, which, yeah, he kind of did,
And, I just can't get over that.
I love the fact that we get a little bit of knowledge from Bobo's side where, Doc goes, Waverly made it across the line. She's not your daughter. Now, my question is, why did everybody else think that she was his daughter? Who is she telling? Because I feel like she only told two people this information, but everybody's guessing. You know what I'm saying? How did Doc know she crossed the line? He wasn't there. Did she tell him? We didn't see Waverly. So that was a little weird. We don't know. But I love the fact that Bobo goes, I didn't say she was my daughter. I said she was kin.
We don't know.
I think that she is a descendant of Robert's Fang. Whatever it is, I think that she's some type of... I don't think she's going to be she's definitely not a Revenant. Because he got turned and didn't, I think that someone down the line also ended up having some kind of power or magicality. I'm still honestly believing that, like I said many times, Purgatory was meant for trapping demons and also it's a sanctuary for other things. So I think Waverly was part of that.
I think Bobo has such a weirdness with these Earps, you know what I mean? He has this weird Lolita complex with Waverly, and then he has almost this pedo complex with Willa, he kidnapped Willa as a baby, and then they ended up lovers. So Bobo's a real sick, weird dude to me.
He did say he waited until she was of age.
Yeah, but
he actually stated
he was still
I don't know,
way older.
Well, they're always going to be way older, but I think that for Bobo, there was a thing where he fell in love with her later, but I think he was more or less trying to take them away from their father, which I hope we get a little bit more background of why he was an asshole, because it's kind of been known through everybody he's an asshole. But once again, that's for a later video. We can talk about all that later. We get into this beautiful moment between Doc and Wynonna. Not going to go into my rant of how amazing it was, but I will say Melanie and Tim did absolutely amazing work. Once again, as an actor, that is hard to do. Tim and Melody have already said that scene for them did feel like they were both Mel and Tim giving away a child. They said it was very, very hard, and even Tim said, I don't have to act in it. because I didn't have to act. I was heartbroken. I was sad. And Mel and I connected. All the awards for them. Anything that you want to say about the end?
Just the closing scene. You know, I don't mind going straight to the reveal, which is we have Wynonna, and she's back on the saddle, in the hog, on the bike, in her cool jacket, going up a winding road. It's a beautiful background of, against the beautiful backdrop of Canada. And we hear this voiceover. We don't know who the voice is. And we see the arrival, the back of Mama Earp. And it's like, what is that?
You know?
Who is this? Who?
Exactly. I thought that was actually really cool. Did not see it coming.
The reveal.
That opens a lot of doors. We will talk about that in another video, but there's a lot of questions there. I loved this kind of scene where we see them laughing with coffee and having a good time. We see Nicole has received divorce papers with a note from Shay going, you know, always love you, hugs and kisses, here you go. You know, which I think is going to be interesting to talk about. There was Nicole holding onto this file from the Cult of Bashor, having the ring that Mercedes' widow dropped after she cut it off of Clutie's hand, and this kind of knowing / way more intriguing look between her and Dolls that I'm sure is going to be the biggest part of next season. I thought that was just really great. There was something in that slow-mo closing scene too that I thought was interesting. So the voiceover says there are men like rattlesnakes, you know, who are like who are fierce or whatever, and they show Doc. Then they go, there are demons who are sweet like honey and clover or whatever it was. Now they show Dolls, but while she's still talking about the demons who are sweet, she also pans to Waverly. So I thought that was something, once again, they're very good with their camera motions. And the fact that she was still talking about the demon description and then panning to Waverly and Jeremy, I found that interesting. So I was like, are they describing Waverly or describing Jeremy? It wasn't just a Dolls thing, which I found. Look at it again, and I think you guys will be like, oh, you're right. That seemed a little suspicious. And I love this look between Dolls and Nicole. I thought it was an excellent way to end the series, giving us way more questions. Some stuff I wish was still answered, but we will definitely talk about that in our podcast, our predictions, and our kind of season 2 wrap-up of Wynonna Earp. Jen, is there anything else you'd like to talk about?
Nope. Just be sure to put us in your ears. We're now available on iTunes.
True. And SoundCloud. You guys can hit us up on Twitter at whatabout_dat. You know, we talk about a lot of stuff, and I love talking to you guys and just kind of connecting and coming up with theories, and I don't know, it's been an awesome season with you guys, so let's keep that up because we have a year to deal with it. So yeah, have a great day, guys. Stay tuned for our season 2 wrap-up of Wynonna Earp and our predictions and things, which will be coming to you shortly. Have a great day. Bye.